here we are in Chapter 4, Activity 24, determining how sleepy you are. All right, so we talked about being alert and awake versus being drowsy and sleepy. But it's not like an on-off button. It's not like you turn an on-off switch. There are different degrees. There are different degrees. And you feel very awake, or you feel sleepier and sleepier. And then after you feel sleepy, then you fall asleep and you're asleep. Okay, so awake is the opposite of asleep. Are you with me there? You got it? So awake is the opposite of sleep, asleep, asleep. Those are adjectives. Are you awake or are you asleep? Right now, how are you? Awake. Yeah, I think you look pretty good. You look awake, right. Now, some of you may be sleepy, which is a feeling that you want to sleep, right? Sleepy means you want to sleep, but it doesn't mean you are asleep. It's somewhere in between, right? And where is drowsy? Drowsy is just before falling asleep, right? So we look at this, we look at the chart on page 154, and we can see, you know, there's a scale. And there are some questions that sleep experts have designed in order to find out how sleepy people feel. And, you know, so a person's ability to stay awake or fall asleep at any particular time depends on many factors. Many factors. Do you remember the word factors? What does factors mean? We learned this word a few chapters ago. Factors. What does that mean? Characteristics, many reasons, many causes. There are many factors that influence how you feel about being awake or being asleep or feeling sleepy, somewhere in between. So one of the factors is time of day. You know, in 24 hours, the time of day is one of the factors that influences whether we are awake or asleep. You get it? Right? What time of day is it now? Suppose it's noon. Do you still have the same feeling at midnight, or do you have a different feeling? You have a different feeling. So the time of day is an important factor about how you feel, whether you're awake or you're asleep. So that is one factor. All right? That's the word factor. Now, another factor is what you are doing at the moment, what you are doing at this time. For example, if you're lying down rather than standing up, is there a difference in how you feel awake and asleep? Sure, right? Okay, suppose I stand up and I have to stand up for a long time. What am I going to do? Fall asleep? Probably not. But how about if I lie down? Then it'll be easier to fall asleep, right? You know that, right? Okay, now you're sitting up in my classroom, so you're not likely to fall asleep, are you? Okay, but if you were lying down on a nice, comfortable bed, nice, comfortable sofa, what would you do? You'd fall asleep. Okay, so that's another factor. What are you doing at the moment? What time of day is it? These are two factors, two of the many factors that influence how we feel or our likelihood of falling asleep. Do you know what likely means and likelihood? Do you know these words? Do you know probable? Probable. Probably. Okay, for example, if I lie down on my bed, I probably will fall asleep if I have some sleep debt, if I owe my body some sleep. I will probably fall asleep. I am likely to fall asleep. So I can use these two ways of expressing it. I probably will fall asleep. I am likely to fall asleep. So we use the word likely with the verb be. How likely are you to fall asleep if you are lying down? Very likely. Okay, how likely are you to fall asleep if you are standing up? Not very likely. Right? You understand? So when we talk about what is the likelihood That's a noun. What is the likelihood of your falling asleep? Then you have to see what are the factors that influence the answer to this question. What time of day is it? What are you doing at the moment are two of the different factors. So these kinds of things, some of the actions will influence and increase your likelihood of falling asleep. So which one increases your likelihood of falling asleep? Lying down or standing up? Right, lying down increases your likelihood. How about with bright lights or a dark room? A dark room increases your likelihood of falling asleep. Okay, so these are different factors that increase or decrease the likelihood of falling asleep. Now, the questions on the next page, page 155, these are questions that help us measure our degree of daytime sleepiness or average sleep propensity. Now, propensity is a kind of a difficult word. It's a scientific word. It's like tendency. It's like the word tendency. You know, like in different fields of study, there are different terms. So this term, sleep propensity, is a term used by sleep experts. And we're not sleep experts, so I just want to use the word but explain it means the same thing as tendency. All right? And if we are thinking about how sleepy are we during the daytime when we're supposed to be awake, right? Our biological clock tells us we're supposed to be awake during the daytime. But some of us feel some sleepiness, right? So the questions were developed by sleep experts. And this one was developed by Dr. Murray Johns of the Epworth Sleep Center in Melbourne, Australia. So I contacted him about this. Now, why did our light just go out? Did somebody think we're falling asleep now? Maybe you can stand up over there and when you move a little bit, wave your arms. Stand up and wave your arms. I think the autumn. We're talking about sleep. It doesn't mean we want to fall asleep. Maybe our room thought we were doing that. All right, okay, so this is called the Epworth Sleepiness Scale. You know, sleepiness is a noun for what? Sleepy. Right, sleepiness. So sleepiness means how sleepy you feel, the amount or the degree that you feel or one feels sleepy. And the question says, how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep in the following situations in contrast to feeling just tired? All right, you know the word fall asleep, right? This phrasal verb fall asleep. You know that one. How about the word doze off? Do you know this one? The phrasal verb doze off. What do you think it means to doze off? It means fall asleep for some time. Okay, now for example, suppose I'm watching television, but I'm feeling a little bit tired, and then my body starts to shrink because my eyes start to close, and my head starts to go like this, and I go, and then you walk in the room and you chat with me, and then I wake up and say, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, what was going on in the show, yeah. Okay, so I didn't sleep for a long time, did I? I just dozed off. I dozed off. To doze off means to fall into a light sleep, but not very strong, all right, to doze off, all right? So maybe I'll ask, I see my dad sitting on the sofa and he's like this. I say, oh, Dad, are you sleeping? And he says, no, I just dozed off for a few minutes. So it's a short, not a deep sleep, very shallow. So this question says, how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep? Either one of those things, either for a short time or for a long time in the following situations. Now, we want to make it in contrast to just feeling tired. So it's possible to feel tired but not fall asleep. So this question is, suppose you were doing these things, how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep doing these things? So we have eight situations. And we have 4 options for the answers. So the first one, it says sitting and reading. The question means, how likely are you during the daytime? Now, I don't mean you during my class. We want to think about this, let's say for the last month or last few weeks. Let's take a last few weeks, several weeks. And you can consider your life in the last few weeks. Can you do that? Can you roll back in time and remember the last several weeks of your life? So do that, and you can circle one of those things. Is there any right answer? There's no right answer. There's only a right answer for you, for yourself, because this is a personal assessment. So how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep while you are sitting and reading? You're reading a book. Okay, so you can answer, would never doze off, slight chance of dozing, moderate chance of dozing, and high chance of dozing. So you just circle whatever is right for you. The second question is, how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep while you're watching TV during the daytime? Would never doze off, slight chance of dozing off, moderate chance, and high chance of dozing. Did you circle one of those? Okay, the third question is, how likely are you sitting, suppose you're sitting down and you're inactive in a public place. For example, you're in a theater, that's a public place. You're in a meeting with other people. How likely are you to doze off or fall asleep? Would never doze off, slight chance of dozing, moderate chance of dozing, high chance of dozing. Circle which one is true for you in your past several weeks. Not in your whole life, just let's say 2-3 weeks. How about number 4? Now, suppose you are a passenger. You know, passenger in a car, you're not driving, but you're sitting and somebody else is driving. How likely are you as a passenger in a car for an hour? You're sitting in the car, somebody else is driving, you're sitting there for an hour. How likely are you to doze off or fall asleep? Okay. Number 5 asks you, suppose you're lying down to rest in the afternoon. Suppose your circumstances permit you to lie down and rest. Some of you are saying you don't have time. But let's suppose you have time to lie down and rest in the afternoon. How likely are you to doze off or fall asleep? Would never, you have a slight chance, moderate chance, or you have a high chance of dozing. Number 6, suppose you are sitting and talking to someone. What is your chance of dozing off or falling asleep? And number 7, suppose you're sitting quietly after a lunch. You know what happens when you eat a meal? And all your energy goes down into your stomach? Do you ever feel a little bit sleepy after that? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So how likely are you to doze off or fall asleep when you're sitting quietly? It means you're not talking to anybody or reading or doing anything. And you haven't had any alcohol, so no influence of alcohol, just your lunch. How likely are you of falling asleep or just dozing? And number 8, suppose you're in a car and you're stopped for a few minutes in traffic. You get stopped in traffic, or you're at the red light. How long do you stay at a red light? Sometimes at the big intersections, it could be 2 minutes. Small intersections, maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute, but some of the big intersections where they have 6 lanes of traffic, it could be 2.5 minutes, right? Suppose you are, or maybe you're in traffic because it's rush hour and your car stops and goes, stop and go kind of traffic. Okay, so how likely are you in a car while stopped for a few minutes in traffic? How likely are you to doze off or fall asleep? Okay, did you circle all your own answers? Yeah. Okay. So make sure that you circle a number for each activity, and then you add them all up and write your number below. And it says, my sleepiness score is, and then you put the number here, right? You put that number there. Okay. As I said, this is not right and wrong. This is not a test. But this is something that is used by sleep experts to help identify. Now, is this objective or subjective? Yeah, is this information objective or subjective? This is totally subjective, not objective at all. It's subjective. This is how you feel and how you answer, right? This is about how perceptive you are, how honest you are, and then how you answer it is all up to you, or me, if I'm answering it about myself. So I'm not asking you to tell me your score, but it's just a way for you to learn about yourself, and maybe you can share this information with members of your family and your friends to help talk about this issue of sleep. Now, on the other side, on page 156, you can see a score sheet, right? So it tells you that 0 to 10 is the normal range for adults who do not have a chronic sleep disorder. Okay, let me see if you understand what chronic means. Do you know the word chronic? Chronic means a long time, for a long time. You have a problem for a long time. What is a disorder? Disorder. Remember this word?
Yes.
It means, what does disorder mean? Not in order, something wrong, a problem. Right, a sleep disorder is a sleep problem, right? So if it's a chronic one, you've had it for a really long time. So if your score is somewhere between 0 and 10, that's a big number. If it's between 0 and 10, it's within the range of normal. If it's higher than that, if you have trouble sleeping, or if the number is 11 or higher, then you need to seek advice from a sleep professional. And then they can do more detailed measurements. They can do some objective measurements, right? I told you about if you go to a sleep clinic, they can do objective measurements by placing electrodes on your brain and other parts of your body to measure your organs, to measure your brain waves, and to find out whether your breathing is impacting the way you sleep. There are different things like that. So those could be some objective measures which will help identify if you or someone you know has a sleep disorder. Okay? Is that interesting?
Yes.
Do you think it can be helpful to you in your life?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good.